you fall, watch you lose in control. I'm seeing red, watch you rise, watch you fall. Now I'm about to break, face the pain, no escape. Can you step to this? Face the pain, no escape. Can you step to this? Face the pain. Face the pain, no escape. Can you step to this?
What's going on, fight fans? Welcome to another episode of the Fixed Fights podcast with Kurt and Ben. As always, I'm Kurt. I'm here with my main man, Ben. It feels like we've been kind of away for a couple weeks, even though we've been getting content done for the show. It feels like we haven't talked about live MMA for a couple weeks, so there is a lot to break down, and it's good to be back.
Yeah, it is good to be back. And yeah, hopefully if somebody's listening or watching this episode, there should be at least one episode maybe before this that you should check out, and then something fun coming soon after. So I'm happy, a couple weeks off of live MMA talk is good, but I feel like we got the most out of our time.
Yeah, I think we've been putting our time to the right things. We got some fun stuff coming out, but we do have MMA to talk about because obviously if we stop talking about it, MMA still keeps revolving. Let's start off the show talking about the PFL, and mainly I think the PFL's biggest star, and that is Kayla Harrison. She fought Thursday? And again, she absolutely just dominates the girl she fought. Let me just out of respect get her name.
Jenna Fabian.
Yes, Jenna Fabian from City Kickboxing. Yeah. And dude, did you see the stat line for that fight?
Like the number of strikes landed and that kind of shit.
Jenna Fabian was officially 0 for 1 in that fight, and her one strike was a leg kick. It's just absolute mauling, and that's been the case in pretty much every one of Kayla's fights. And now, she's been a bit more brash on the mic. She's been a bit more forthcoming with what she's saying. Her next fight, I believe it's against Amber Guardado, if I am not correct. We were hoping it might have been our Larissa Pacheco fight, but she missed weight. She's out of the tournament. Regardless, whoever's in there is probably going to get pieced up. Kayla's going to win another $1 million, which is great for the bank. But basically, she just said she needs to be paid life-changing money if she wants to stay with the PFL. We've seen her make 145 before. So, Ben, I'm going to pose a question like this to you. What is next for Kayla Harrison, and what would the PFL have to do to keep her around, even if they could?
Man, I think so. It's Taylor Guardado who she's fighting next, who actually,
close.
Unfortunately, Taylor Guardado might actually have the type of skill set that could give Kayla Harrison problems. The issue is Taylor Guardado is 3-0 as a professional, right? Yeah, 3-1 as a professional, and hadn't fought once in 2011 as an amateur, and then hadn't fought again since 2020. So Taylor Guardado is going to get mauled, unfortunately, by Kayla Harrison. And then after that, man, talking about, I'm sure the PFL has deep enough pockets that they are capable of providing that life-changing money. But she's not saying that because she knows that. She's saying that because she has she sees greener pastures ahead, right? I think even if she has a guaranteed $1.5 million a year for the next 4 or 5 years, I don't get the sense that that's what Kayla Harrison wants to do, is stay in the PFL. I think what would be next would be maybe Bellator, because I don't know how much longer Amanda Nunes is going to stick around, but I get the sense Chris Cyborg wants to wait around for that fight. And Bellator has crazy deep pockets as well.
You know what the thing with Bellator is? Bellator has shown and Scott Coker especially has shown that he will send fighters to other organizations. So I don't know if they'd possibly be interested in doing a crossover fight with Kayla. Maybe that's a way that PFL can hold on to her and say, look, we're going to do a 2-off, right? You're going to fight Cyborg in PFL. You're going to fight Cyborg in Bellator. Or maybe she just leaves and she goes and signs with Bellator or PFL. Because even, dude, honestly, I mean, UFC. If you look at Bellator's 145-pound division, it's like she doesn't necessarily have to fight Cyborg right off the rip. She could fight a Julia Budd before fighting Cyborg and kind of, she can get a top level competitor in there at 145. I don't think she's long for the PFL. I think she's going to be able to make money elsewhere. I think she's going to be able to get bigger fights elsewhere. I mean, dude, she could go over to the UFC and fight fucking Holly Holm in like a little like pseudo warm-up fight. You know what I'm saying? I think there's a lot more options elsewhere for her.
And you bring up a good point about Bellator loaning its fighters, because the PFL has loaned out Kayla Harrison. Remember, she had
that one off in Invicta.
That Invicta fight, and she wore the PFL uniform and everything. So I think that is like totally on the table, like a PFL Bellator crossover.
Yeah, and I think that would be a huge fight. I think Cyborg is one of the greatest women of all time. I mean, who would you rather see Kayla fight? Perfect world, let's say first quarter 2022. You get your choice. Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes. Kayla Harrison versus Chris Cyborg.
Probably Nunes, because at this point, Cyborg, I think, is on the decline or the tail end of her career, unfortunately. Not that Nunes necessarily isn't, but with Nunes having the win, however it happened over Chris Cyborg, I feel like she's, slightly higher up in current MMA standings.
How close would the odds be for both of those fights?
I feel like I know they released odds, actually. I saw a headline.
Really?
I didn't look at them. I just saw the headline just like literally maybe 30 minutes ago that said Kayla Harrison opened as a big betting underdog to both of them. Let me see if I can
That's fair.
Pull this up, but without looking, I haven't looked. I would say I would bet Kayla Harrison's like plus 300 to like Cyborg, and maybe plus 350 or something to Nunes.
That's fair. I figured it might be a little closer, maybe closer to like plus 200. But again, Kayla has not fought anyone the likes of Cyborg and Nunes.
So it's on bestfightodds.com. Right now, Kayla Harrison is plus 245, and the comeback on Nunes is minus 290. And Kayla Harrison is plus 170 and against Cyborg. And Cyborg is minus 200.
Pretty fair.
Which is about basically what you were saying.
Yeah. Anyone? So the one other guy I think on that PFL card that I've been loved to watch this season is Bruno Capoloza in the heavyweight division. He gets another finish over Jamel Jones. He's looked really good. Anyone else on this PFL card that has caught your interest?
I mean, what was it, a couple weeks ago, but I don't think we've talked about it. Ray Cooper just dominating Rory McDonald. I don't think we talked about that. With grappling too. I was surprised.
Yeah, dude, Ray Cooper is obviously a stud. It's tough with Rory McDonald, man. I mean, he's shown flashes of brilliance, but like
he seemed out of it, man.
Uninspired. Again, it's been kind of the narrative since that Robbie Lawler fight. Did it take everything out of him? Can he still go to those places he needs to win big fights? I think he can. He's still kind of young enough, but I think the story here is Ray Cooper getting a big win, and he'll be fighting Magomed Karamov in the finals. So that's a rematch. Magomed Karamov beat him previously, so he gets another shot at him.
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped about that fight. We'll see. I mean, I feel like Ray Cooper is kind of toning down his game a little bit. He's much more grappling heavy and like less brawler, but I'm excited to see how that fight goes down. I kind of favor Ray Cooper. I imagine there might be odds out already on that, but I favor Ray Cooper here in the rematch, just based on like momentum. Not that Magomed Karamov has even lost since then, but just based on like, I don't know. I feel like Ray Cooper seems on it right now.
Yeah, I can agree with that. This Thursday, this Friday night, it's looking like PFL 9 is going down. Featherweights and light heavyweights. A couple of good fights on this card. Brendan Loughnan's taking on Movlid Hasbulayev. Movlid is the one who denied Lance Palmer a chance at like a third or fourth even PFL title. Chris Wade and Bubba Jenkins in the other co-main event. Shoeface is on this card. Cesar Fajeda is on this card. Shaman Moraes. Fuck, man. Jason Knight's on this card? What?
Is he? Oh wow.
Yes, he is. Yeah, all the way. I mean, that's not a tournament fight, but
Well, they started when PFL like last 2 years, they were doing the 2 fights in one night. Like they were doing their quarterfinals and semifinals as kind of a one night tournament. And they dropped that, so now they can actually have like a real undercard with guys like Jason Knight out of nowhere. They have a bunch of non-tournament fights on these cards now.
yeah, that's sweet. So yeah, they have a pretty solid card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm into it.
Let's throw to Bellator now. Bellator happened also this past week. And actually, before we get to the fight that happened this past weekend, can we talk about the fight that happened the weekend before? Gegard Mousasi. Can we put some fucking respect on Gegard's name? I mean, dude, if you look at Gegard's record since he left the UFC, I mean, he left the UFC on what, 5-fight win streak. He's only lost 1 fight since then, that razor-thin decision loss to Rafael Lovato. I mean, man, Gegard is 48-7-2. It feels like he's been fighting forever. He's still only 36 years old, and he's just been looking really, really good lately. He's going to be taking on Austin Vanderford, Mr. Van Zant, for the title next, and I think that's a really good match. Say what you want about Vanderford, but he's shown a lot of promise in his young career.
Yeah, dude, and I think that's stylistically a pretty hard matchup for Mousasi, considering the last fight he lost. Granted, that was a really, really close fight against Lovato, but Lovato was just shooting double legs on him. Like Lovato did a really heavy ground attack. And looking down Mousasi's recent record, I can't think of another wrestler. I mean, you have to go back to Chris Weidman in 2017 to think of a really solid takedown artist. So I think Vanderford has a great chance of winning that fight.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, is it safe to say that Gegard Mousasi is the second best middleweight in the world? I think he has a strong argument besides Israel Adesanya. Obviously, Robert Whittaker has a say in that, but other than that, man.
Well, dude, I mean, it's the length of time he's been doing it. Because I would say, like, yeah, maybe Whittaker is a number 2, but fucking Gegard Mousasi fought and beat Mark Hunt in 2009.
I know, it's insane.
You know what I mean? Like, this guy has been around for so long and like at a high level, that there's got to be something said for that.
Yeah, I agree, man. He's just he's well-rounded as hell. Like you said, the Vanderford fight is going to be really good. It's going to be a test for Mousasi, but again, like, you got to be able to do that for 5 rounds, because we've seen Mousasi give away early rounds. He's so patient. He's so durable. He's so, he can win fights later. It's really, really good matchmaking.
Yeah.
Bellator 265 happened. 2 old guys in the main event. Czech Congo coming out with a submission win literally at the last second of the second round over Sergey Karatanov. Say what you will, but I mean, these 2 guys have been kind of on a roll lately. Czech Congo quietly on a roll, man. I mean, since coming over to Bellator, he's only lost, 2 fights, 3 fights? Crazy. And if you look at the Bellator heavyweight division, Ryan Bader is all sorts of caught up in the light heavyweight tournament, still the Bellator heavyweight champion. Valentin Moldavsky just won the interim heavyweight title. Got to think that might be next for Czech Congo.
Yeah, I think so. Assuming they're like, don't want to wait around for Bader to figure out what's going on at light heavyweight. But I assume if Bader can get back there, then, he'll fight Moldavsky soon. But yeah, check fucking Congo doing the damn thing. However, he does not want that, right? I guess that Ryan Bader fight was technically a no contest, but
yeah.
Bader was beating the shit out of him. He was way better than him. No. So I don't think that's a fight he wants again, but why not? If he can fight for an interim heavyweight title in Bellator, let's do it.
Dude, fucking France on the come up in the heavyweight division.
Yeah, truly, when you think about it. But like they could potentially hold so Cyril Gane, interim heavyweight champion, Francis Ngannou, regular heavyweight champion. You're telling me Czech Congo could have a interim championship as well in Bellator?
Jesus Christ, man. Czech Congo might be the first guy to fight into his 50s in MMA. I mean, the guy is, I'm sure, I know guys have done it before, but like at the highest level.
But most of those guys look like they're about 50. Czech Congo looks like he's 27 years old.
It's insane. He hasn't aged a minute. It's crazy.
He's like, usually pro fighters are so fucking beat up, and maybe he is. I've never seen the guy face to face, but it's weird that he's like he's just a freak of youth.
He is a freak of nature, of youth. Logan Storley in the co-main event gets back on the winning track over Dante Schiro, but not the performance that I was expecting. I don't know about you, Ben, and not the performance, obviously, that he was expecting. He does get the win. I thought he deserved the win, but, I mean, man, Schiro made him work for it. Obviously, he gets the takedowns like he gets in every fight, but other than that, he was not able to do much. Even Dante Schiro kind of banged him up a little bit at the end of that fight.
Yeah, if we had an episode breaking down this card last week, you and I almost definitely would have shit on this matchmaking and said, what the fuck? Why is Logan Storley fighting this guy? He's a minus 1,200 favorite. He should be fighting
I think it was even bigger than that, dude. I think it was like minus 1,800.
Insane favorite. And then we would have eaten crow because like this was a close fight. And I've got to think that's just Logan Storley coming off his first loss, maybe thinking, all right, they're giving me a gimme fight to get me back in the win column. I think he just underestimated what was in front of him.
Yeah, I think that, again, that Amosov fight that he had did so much for him. It was just such a really well-matched, good fight. But after this one, he probably needs one more. And the thing about the Bellator division is it is deep. It's got a lot of guys. I know Andrei Koreshkov has a fight coming up, so maybe if Koreshkov wins, that could be the next guy for Logan Storley. Just a vet that's won the title before. Hell, man, maybe even a Douglas Lima. Douglas Lima needs a fight. So, and honestly, at this point of their careers, dude, Logan Storley versus Douglas Lima might be a really good fight for Storley because we've seen Lima. I mean, you just saw him against Amosov. He really didn't have any answers. No game plan switch against the takedowns of Amosov.
That's a good point. Stylistically, but dude, I'm kind of salivating about a potential Storley Amosov rematch because that first fight, Grappler's Delight, I thought it was really, really close, and that was only 3 rounds. Give me 5 rounds of that, and I think it's really anybody's fight. I mean, even their first fight was super, super close. So I think I would love to see that fight at 5 rounds.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're going to get it eventually. I don't know if it's going to be next. Storley might have to win one in between, but we're going to see it again. I can bank on that.
For sure.
Anyone else from this Bellator card that you want to shout out or care about?
Not so much a shout out, but I think the unfortunate storyline is JJ Wilson against Adam Boric was shaping up to be, I thought, there was rumors that it was going to be a #1 contender fight to fight AJ McKee next. And I was excited. I think JJ Wilson is a super, super legit prospect. He has incredibly good jiu-jitsu, like really, really good, does like gi jiu-jitsu, came to the United States because he wanted to do jiu-jitsu, not to do MMA. And this guy just can't fucking make weight at 145. I think that was like his 4th weight miss in like 6 or 7 fights. So disappointed. JJ Wilson's going up to 155, but it's sad because like this was his chance. If JJ Wilson goes out there and beats Adam Boric, he's now fighting Bellator's #1 star in AJ McKee. And he just, he's huge though. So he was probably cutting way too much weight to begin with.
Yeah, it's sad to see because this was a big opportunity for both of them. The fight is pulled. So JJ Wilson still has a bright future at 55, which is actually a less crowded division. So maybe that is not the worst thing for him.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Bellator is going to be off for a couple weeks, but September 18th, they announced a huge main event. Yoel Romero taking on Phil Davis, the debut of Yoel Romero. I really, really like the matchmaking. I think it's fun matchmaking. Kind of possibly the last stand for both of these guys. I mean, obviously it's Yoel Romero's debut, but the guy is like 58 years old at this point. Phil Davis needs a big win coming off the loss to Nemkov, which was his 2nd loss. I think it's really good matchmaking. It could turn into a fun fight, or it could turn into one of the most boring fights we've ever seen. But I do like the matchmaking.
That's a good early prediction. It could be fun, but
I gotta be honest about it, right?
Could also be very boring given the way both these guys fight. And yeah, I think that's good matchmaking because it sets up if Romero gets past Phil Davis, then I think he gets a title shot. Like
absolutely
as soon as the Grand Prix is over, considering Phil Davis just lost to Nemkov. So yeah, I'm into it. I'm a little nervous that it could play out real boring with a bit of a staring match, but who knows?
Yeah, we shall see. Moving on to the UFC side of things, Jared Cannonier gets a huge win over Kelvin Gastelum in the main event. And I got to say, dude, let me make my Kelvin Gastelum rant before, and it goes into giving Jared Cannonier props. But for some reason, like the Kelvin Gastelum I saw against Israel Adesanya, that guy is still there. I think Kelvin is still that guy. And maybe he's not, dude. He's lost, what, 5 of 6? I just still think Kelvin is such a good win in the division. He's still so young. He's still so talented. And enough talking about Kelvin. I guess we got to give the props to the winner of this fight. Jared Cannonier won a fight that I didn't know he could win. He won a very measured fight. He stuck to a game plan. And I don't know if I thought Jared Cannonier was that guy, but he definitely proved me wrong. I would have picked I did pick Kelvin in this fight, like I do for most of Kelvin's fights. But damn, props to Jared Cannonier, man. I think he got a huge win. And before I throw it to you, Ben, I think he puts himself in a really interesting position in the middleweight title picture. And why? It's because he's one of the only guys that Israel Adesanya has not fought and beat yet.
Yeah, 100. I think you nailed it on all points there, man. Talking about matchmaking first, I mean, I think Gastelum should fight. I mean, he could even get a title shot, maybe. I mean, the way they've been doing business lately, that is on the table. But I think he should fight the winner of Paulo Costa and Marvin Vettori, because exactly, like, both those guys have been starched by Adesanya at this point. I think Jared Cannonier, especially after the performance we just saw from him, could beat both of those guys. And I think a win over either Costa or Vettori would, like, all but guarantee Jared Cannonier a title shot. And if I remember correctly, wasn't Israel Adesanya calling for a Jared Cannonier title shot like maybe a year ago at one point? There was at one point where Whitaker seemed set for getting the next title shot, and Adesanya was like, no, not Robert Whitaker. It should be Jared Cannonier next. So I think that's a fight that Adesanya would be keen on. And yeah, I think you nailed giving Cannonier credit in fighting a really measured fight, but also, like, I thought that was a really entertaining fight. I know there was no finish, and it wasn't like a knockdown drag out war. But he was measured, but like constantly aggressive. I thought his boxing looked really good. I thought his kicking game looked pretty fucking good. I don't know, man. I thought Kelvin Gastelum was going to be able to take down Jared Cannonier. I thought Kelvin Gastelum was just going to look way faster, and he did look speedy. But you know, I was impressed with Cannonier from start to finish, and I think, like, man, he seems like he might actually be getting better.
Yeah, which is crazy, right? He's 37 years old, but I agree with you. I think he is getting better. The one guy that I think is going to throw a wrench in everything, if he should win, is Darren Till. I think the UFC has been very on board with Darren Till. Israel Adesanya has, even, as well as Jared Cannonier, flirted with the idea of fighting Darren Till. Darren Till has a big fight against Derek Brunson. So if Darren Till wins in impressive fashion, even if it's not that impressive, he might jump the queue and get a title shot. But I don't get the sense that Jared Cannonier is going to want to wait around for a title shot. I mean, as it's looking right now, right, Israel Adesanya and Robert Whitaker, they might fight in first quarter 2022. So yeah, I think you could be looking at the winner of Paulo Costa, Marvin Vettori, possibly the winner of Darren Till, Derek Brunson. I think that at the end of the day, I do think Jared Cannonier has put himself in a really good position after this fight.
Yeah, I mean, everything you just said. I would say, yeah, I'm into all that. I think Cannonier is probably one fight away still, and like you said, he doesn't want to wait. As he made public, he's broke. Like he needs to fight again soon. He was not calling for a title shot because he doesn't want to wait around for one. And he's also a guy who I think is willing to bet on himself.
I agree.
So I don't get the sense that he's like, no, I'm going to wait for a title shot. I think he's more, I'll take one more paycheck before I fight for the title that I'm then going to win. He just has that kind of level of confidence in himself, which, I mean, I'm trying to think. So if it's Vettori or Costa, I think maybe Vettori might be able to take him down, but I'm less sure about that now. And then if it's Paulo Costa, I think I would favor Jared Cannonier in that fight pretty heavily, to be honest. I think he hits with about the same amount of power, but with a fair amount more nuance.
Yeah, I think this performance showed he could really stick to a game plan and you know, be technical for a win. Maybe it's that crystal power. Jared Cannonier, all about the weird crystals and all that shit.
Dude, we got it every time. Sorry, last thing on Jared
Yeah,
Cannonier.
of course.
Every time we talk about this, Jared Cannonier, I'm gonna bring up that video. It's on a UFC embedded. Somebody found it for me on Twitter one time.
I know what you're talking about.
Where he's like at a school lunch with his daughter, and some girl's like, "You're not the best in the world," and he's like, "No, I am," and she's like, "No, you're not." And he's like, "No, I am," and like looks at the camera like, "What the fuck?"
I know what
Every
you're talking
time
about.
that gets me. Every time.
He's a character, man.
Yeah.
Really quick, talking about Kelvin Gastelum. Ben, tell me if I'm wrong here. I think now is the perfect time, and dude, I've been saying this for years. Now is the perfect time for Kelvin Gastelum to go back down to 170. He's still, 28 years old, which is crazy. I mean, Kelvin Gastelum has one of the most insane resumes in the sport. And, dude, he's only lost, I believe, twice at 170. Once was to Tyron Woodley, back when Tyron Woodley was the man. And then I think one other time was to Neil Magny. Right, by split decision. You look at Kelvin, he's not the most ripped guy. I feel like he's made 170 before. He could make it. And Ben, here's the thing. Before you talk to this, do me a favor. Look at the middleweight rankings right now and tell me where Kelvin Gastelum fits in.
I mean, he's fought everybody and lost to most of them recently.
That's what I'm saying.
It's the issue.
Here's an option. You go back down to 170. I'm going to give you two names. One, Jeff Neal, ranked number 10. The other one, a guy that needs a big name, who just got pulled out of a fight with a big name, Sean Brady.
Ooh. So first of all, that Jeff Neal fight's a fucking banger. I would be all about that. And Sean Brady, I mean, Sean Brady is a guy who I think is poised to take a big jump up and like prove that he's here.
He was supposed to get it this weekend against Kevin Lee, but had to pull out.
Exactly. And I couldn't imagine a better win for Sean Brady. I mean, Gastelum missed weight on his first attempt here.
I know.
Maybe if they could like talk to the UFC, whatever. But you're right. Like, he looks like a guy who should be able to drop 15 pounds pretty easy.
We're going to talk about him in a little bit, but Edson fucking Barboza pulled 10 pounds out of his already ripped body, and he's looked amazing at 145. Jose Aldo. I like, Kelvin's already shown he's literally one of the best 185ers in the world, and he's lost the Whitaker fight close, the Cannonier fight close, the Darren Till fight very close, Adesanya, one of the best fights ever, but he lost them all. I feel like it's time for him to get a fresh start, and I think 170 is the move.
I think that's not a bad idea if he can make it. Just because of like my only hesitation is that I think his game, he's done well at 185. I know his record doesn't reflect that recently, but because he's so fast, like his game translates really well up to middleweight because he can wrestle and he has like incredible hand speed. Whereas back at 170, I mean, he might not have any other options because he's lost so much to the guys in the top 10 of the middleweight division. But going back down, you know, he's still a fast welterweight. He could still maybe lean on his wrestling a little bit more. That's why I like that Jeff Neal fight. I would love. That'd be really interesting.
It's just fresh. We've seen him. Dude, look at this. He lost to Israel Adesanya, lost to Robert Whitaker. He hasn't fought Paulo Costa or Vittori, but they're all locked up. Lost to Cannonier.
Dude,
Derek Brunson and Darren Till matched up. He got smoked by Jack Hermanson. Strickland and Rockholder matched up. He's not going to fight probably the winner of them next. It's like maybe a Uriah Hall rematch, or
they're probably not going to fight each other either. They're friends.
Brett Tavares, like, you're going that far back, man.
Well, I just think he likes tacos too much. Like, and me and my girlfriend talk about this all the time, that like Kelvin Gastelum is the type of guy who like grew up, his mom just making him whatever food he wanted at all hours of the day. And now as an adult, he's like got money, but he still like goes to Long John Silver's at 11 o'clock in the morning and fucking keeps Kit Kats in his car and stuff like that. Like, he's just a guy who loves food. But if he can make 170, there's tons of fresh matchups there that, like, I mean, they could make Jeff Neal against Kelvin Gastelum a fight night main event easy. Like, that's a way to keep him in like main events, relevant fights.
Yeah, and again, he wins a fight like that, and he interjects himself into the fray of 170, where we know that's the guy that pushed a 185-pound champ to the brink. Enough of my gloating about Kelvin Gastelum. He did lose the fight. Co-main event. Mark Madsen gets a tough decision over a 39-year-old Clay Guida. Let me pose it to you like this. I know Madsen is undefeated. He's highly touted. But does this fight and this win over Clay Guida make you think that he's ready for the top 15, top 10 of the division? Or has he already possibly hit his ceiling?
I don't know if he's hit his ceiling because he's, what is he, like 36?
36.
But like, yeah, I mean, he didn't. You would hope somebody who's like wants to be like a top 5 lightweight would just be beating the shit out of Clay Guida. And this was a close fight. I mean, it was like kind of stylistically difficult because Guida's gonna fight tooth and nail in all those grappling positions. But I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of invested in Mark Madsen. I think when the UFC starts traveling again, I think he could be in like co-main eventing spots in Europe or even main eventing spots if he can put together a couple more wins.
The problem I had with Madsen, like his striking looked improved, but some of those big right hands he was throwing, dude, a good striking lightweight is going to make him pay for that. Obviously, Clay Guida Clay Guida did a lot of good in this fight, right? He made it close. He moved around a lot. He maybe didn't throw as much, but dude, someone with slick counter striking is going to make Madsen pay for that. I'm not fully out on Madsen. I think he can. Look, he's 36 years old, so we're gonna find out quick, like if he's the dude or he's not the dude, right? I think he deserves a step up in competition and maybe someone on the fringe of the top 15, but I'm not all that high on him at this point, making a run at like a title or anything.
Yeah, and I'm trying to like think because even like the top 15, number 15, Arman Sarukian, I don't know if I want to see that. I think Sarukian's way above him.
I agree.
You could look at are there any other lightweights on this card? Like Vince Pichel, Austin Linga. Well, he's at 45.
Yeah, Vince Pichel could be a fun step up because I thought Vince Pichel showed a lot of solid striking in this fight. I think he could test Madsen in ways that would answer a lot of questions, whereas Guida couldn't.
Yeah, they could for sure match those two up, and I'd be happy with that. And they're both on little streaks here.
Vince Pichel, one of the best mustaches in the game currently. Thing is awesome.
For sure. Yeah. Oh, that's intense.
Moving down the card, I'll put this in a double, but CT stand up. Parker Porter, one of the legends of Connecticut, gets a big win over Chase Sherman. I got to say, man, Parker Porter has been doing this a long time. The dude is a stud, one of Connecticut's best. His cardio looked a lot better in this fight. I thought his head movement was really good. I thought his boxing, which has always been good, but his cardio just in general looked good. I'm super happy to see him get a win. And William Knight on the undercard sleeps Fabio Chiron. I mean, William Knight, one of those guys, he's like built like a brick shithouse physical specimen, but he does so much wrong in the cage. And even if you look at this knockout, right, like he's backing up with his chin all the way in the fucking rafters, but he's got the power to throw this weird hook on the inside as Chiron is coming in, and he puts him to sleep. So William Knight, man, Parker Porter, got to gloat about Connecticut. I don't get to do it that often in MMA, but, dude, I'm so happy for those guys.
Dude, what did we call? I think we called it the Ben Askren Body Award for our year-end awards.
Yeah.
Parker Porter,
buddy.
If he can get another win, he is lining himself up for that award because that was. I mean, even like the commentators were talking about, oh, this guy doesn't look like it, but he's in pretty good shape. Like constantly, kind of making little jabs about his weight. But
who was the perfect fight for Parker Porter? And I got to give Daniel Gumby-Vreeland credit for this. Andre Arlovsky. Arlovsky's just one of those guys where, like, later in his career, he's fighting anybody. He's fighting top 10 guys.
Yeah, he didn't give a fuck.
Studs. He's fighting up-and-comers. He's fighting guys on losing streaks. Like, Parker deserves it. He's a vet of the game. Arlovsky would be down. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, why not? I'm into that.
Wrapping up this main card, Said Yakub Kakramanov gets a big win over Trevin Jones. Trevin Jones is a guy I've been pretty high on, and Kakramanov just came out there and on short notice too. He just dug deeper, right? I mean, he got Trevin Jones a little bit tired. He was tired himself, but gets a submission in the third round of a fight that was just all action.
He Trevin Jones,
right?
The guy who came in on like crazy short notice and upset Timur Valiev.
Yep.
just like, I mean, this took a little bit longer, right? Trevin Jones made Timur Valiev tired after like 1 round, but yeah, that's a impressive debut for him for sure.
And then the last fight of the main card, which honestly probably should have been the co-main event given the stakes of the fight, but Alejandro Pantoja getting a huge submission victory over Brandon Royval. And I feel like there's 3 guys in this division, being these two and Askar Askarov, who all have let's say history with Brandon Moreno. Obviously Askarov had the draw. Brandon Royval had the fun fight with Moreno, which he lost, but there was a shoulder injury, and then Pantoja has beaten Moreno twice. But the way he came out here and kind of weathered the storm of Royval, and he had that like really nice, he hit it a couple times. He had like this weird, like, just a beautiful suck back to the back, and he was just like a leech, locked onto Brandon Royval. Royval doing the usual flipping around, high energy, crazy stuff. But man, he gets to the back, gets the body triangle, submits Royval, calls Moreno out in the nicest possible fashion ever. Here's my question. I think there's 2 options you could do for Moreno. 1, Pantoja. 2, Askar Askarov. Who do you want to see fight Moreno and why?
I'm going Pantoja just because it feels fresher. I know Askar Askarov has that draw with Moreno, but from what I understand, he like has an injured hand, or broken hand maybe. And there's no timetable for his return. Pantoja, I think, got out of that fight unscathed. So I would love to, I mean, I want to see Brandon Moreno back in the cage soon. I would love to see Pantoja against Moreno like before 2021 is over. Mostly because like, I think Pantoja is more exciting than Askar Askarov. I think this performance was more impressive than Askar Askarov's most recent performances. And Askarov just has the draw with Moreno, whereas Pantoja literally has 2 wins. I know one of them came in the Ultimate Fighter, but nonetheless, that was a fucking fight that happened. So I'd be very excited to see Pantoja against Moreno. And man, it makes me think that we're going to see kind of hot potato with this flyweight title for a while, because, you know, as much as I love Brandon Moreno, I think Davison Figueiredo could beat him. I think Alexandre Pantoja could beat him. I think even Brandon Royval could beat him. And I think all those guys could beat each other on any given day. So this division is kind of shaping up to be changing hands a lot, I think.
Flyweight's on fire, man. There's a lot of good guys down there. The thing that interests me is, like, I think that Brandon Moreno has evolved so much since that last Pantoja fight. Like, I wonder what the odds would be. They got to be, like, close to a pick'em, right?
You might even... I would bet they might even open up Moreno as a favorite just on
I agree.
status as champion.
Which is crazy because he has 2 losses against Pantoja. How about you got Kai Kara France fighting Cody Garbrandt. Obviously, if Cody Garbrandt wins, he's going to be right up there. I'm with you. I think we do Moreno Pantoja. How about Davison Figueiredo, Askar Askarov?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm
Title
into that.
eliminator, boom. Whoever's the most impressive out of those guys gets the next shot. And
then like you said, I totally forgot about Garbrandt, Kai Kara France waiting in the wings too. I mean, both those guys would be one fight away from a title shot with a win.
Cody Garbrandt, if he gets a big win, might even jump the whole queue. Interesting stuff for flyweight.
If he like starches Kai Kara France, I don't think it would be out of the question that he just gets an immediate title shot.
Hey, before we wrap this card up and talk about this weekend's card, shout out to Ignacio Bahamondes, who just put himself right up there in the knockout of the year contenders. Knocks out Roosevelt Roberts with a spinning wheel kick with 5 seconds left on the clock in a fight that he was winning. Doesn't have to go for broke and throw a spinning wheel kick with 5 seconds left, but he does, and it pays off. Some of the stills from that shot, if you saw them, are amazing. Dude, shout out to that guy, man. Holy crap.
Yeah, shout out to him, and shout out to his coach, by the way, who was Mike Valley was my original kickboxing Muay Thai coach. And I remember years ago when I lived in Chicago, and Ignacio came to Chicago to train with Mike, and Mike was like, dude, this like Chilean, what is he, Chilean? This kickboxer from South America, this kid's young, but he's really, really fucking good. He told me this maybe like 2016 or 17, and I didn't know who he was at that point. And fucking now look at him. 2 like incredible knockouts in 2 performances.
Did you get a chance to spar with him or train with him at all?
Never. We were maybe into the same training session a few times, but I don't think I sparred with him. For sure, I didn't. I would have remembered that. I did not spar with him.
Yeah, dude, absolute stud, man. That was
Yeah.
a very impressive win. And honestly, this whole card, top to bottom, was pretty damn exciting. It had a lot of finishes, a lot of high stakes. It was a really good card.
Yeah, and I mean, this was one I watched the next day with kind of low expectations. I saw, oh, Cannonier wins by decision. I wonder what happened there. But again, like I had a great time watching that main event. I thought this was a fun-ish card, I'll say. A very fun card at the top, I think. And the that Vince Pichel fight I thought was fun. That Austin Lingo fight was a banger, was a war.
That's good, yeah.
Bia Malecki I turned on my TV that night just to see her get knocked unconscious, and I was like, what did I just miss? Jesus Christ. But yeah, fun stuff.
It was a fun card. So we turn the page to this coming weekend. Excellent main event between Edson Barboza and Giga Chikadze. The finals of the Ultimate Fighter, which we'll get into. But let's start at the top. The aforementioned Barboza versus Chikadze fight. The odds are like razor thin. Dude, what excellent matchmaking, and especially like Barboza's another guy, dude. If you look at that guy's resume, like it is fucking insane. And here's the thing with Barboza: when he first like announced that he was going down to 145, I think we talked about it on this podcast. Like we were both like, dude, I don't know, that might not end well. Like I don't know how the hell he's gonna suck another 10 pounds off, but look at him now. I thought he should have beat Dan Ige in their fight. He's coming off the fucking crazy knockout over Shane Burgos. That was one where Burgos did the delayed reaction. And he's taking on Chikadze, who is just a savage in his own right. But the difference for me is two things. I don't think Chikadze has fought the level of competition, at least in MMA, that Barboza is. And two, right, like these guys are both excellent strikers, but I think Barboza is the guy that is going to be more willing to take risks and step out of his comfort zone to win this fight.
I think that's a good breakdown. And I think Barboza going down to 145, if I can touch on that just first, is like, yeah, you and I thought this is idiotic. This guy's lean as hell. Crazy. There's no way he can do this. I think something we didn't account for is like what am I trying to say? In a way, the book has been written on Edson Barboza, right? You bully him. If you can wrestle, great, but you don't even need to wrestle. If you can just push him back him against the fence, physically kind of force him against the fence, he's going to kind of fall apart, and he's easy to back into the fence. I think something we didn't account for is that at 145, he feels like a bigger guy, so he's much more likely to stand his ground if somebody's trying to grapple with him or if somebody's trying to just pressure him with strikes. I think that's way harder to do at 145. That said, I think you bring up a good point about Chikadze's like level of competition, for sure. Way less than Edson Barboza's, at least in MMA. It's not out yet. It should be published maybe like today or tomorrow. So probably anybody listening or watching this episode, it will be out. I did like a closer look at Giga Chikadze's striking game, like exactly what he did in kickboxing versus what he does now. That'll be on the Las Vegas Chronicle, lvchronicle.com, Wednesday or Thursday. In any event, Chikadze doesn't really pressure. He's a real outfighter. He likes to kind of back up to draw guys into him, and then he likes to counter from that. And we've seen, I think the best striker Giga Chikadze has fought so far in the UFC was Omar Morales, and he pretty handily beat Morales. But Morales gave him more problems than anybody has, just because he's a pretty refined striker. Chikadze threw one body kick early in that fight, and Morales had a counter ready to go right for it. And that body kick, that left body kick, the Giga kick, as he calls it, is far and away his best weapon. It's going to be there available for him against Barboza because Barboza's a righty. But I've seen in MMA when slightly more nuanced strikers are not super intimidated by Chikadze. Chikadze has some problems. And I think Barboza is gonna give him those problems. I don't think Chikadze can push Barboza against the fence or pressure him, which again, I feel like the book has been written on Barboza at this point. And I think Barboza is gonna feel kind of comfortable exchanging in the pocket. That could be his undoing, but Chikadze also kind of falls apart in longer exchanges. Last thing I'll say about that fight is I do think Barboza might not go for a double leg, but I think he's going to clinch, and I think he's going to try to put Chikadze on the fence, at least for some stretches of time. Because if you watch Chikadze's fights, he slows down a ton. It's normal. Everybody slows down after grappling a little bit, but his like dip in output and movement goes way, way, way down after like literally any sort of grappling exchange, something on the fence, something on the ground, whatever it may be. So I think Barboza is just going to use kind of more of an MMA type skill set here, maybe wear on Chikadze a little bit. But I think even on the feet in exchanges, Barboza's going to be able to land some leg kicks and generally stay out of Chikadze's strike zone.
All right, so I'm assuming you're picking Edson Barboza in this fight.
Yeah, I am, but just not very confidently because Chikadze kicks so fucking hard, right? And Barboza will be there to be hit. The only reason I guess I'm picking Barboza is just that Barboza is not gonna, I don't think, is going to give Chikadze like easy openings. Like Chikadze has feasted on MMA fighters up to this point that just kind of like run face first into his strikes, that get frustrated and they just attack on a straight line. And for a kickboxer like Chikadze, that's like easy. That's like hitting fucking home runs. Barboza is just not going to give him that. And we haven't seen Chikadze striking in MMA against a striker anywhere close to this level.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm leaning Barboza as well for many of the reasons that you said. I do think he would be smart to mix in some grappling or even try to bank some time against the cage. Again, this is a 5-round fight. We don't even have that much to go on for either of these guys, right? I mean, how many 5-round fights has Barboza been in the UFC? I'm trying to think. I know he got stopped late by Kevin Lee. And we've only seen him in the 5th round once. Yeah, so not a lot of these guys. Neither of these guys have big experience going into the 5th. I'm leaning Barboza as well, though. I like him at 45 for whatever reason, whenever it's working. Love the way he kicks the legs. Love the way he kicks the bodies. And again, just his big fight experience in MMA, I'm leaning with that. I think Barboza wins by decision.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Chikadze has not shown great cardio either. Whereas I think on the flip side, even though we haven't seen Barboza in 5 rounds, basically other than one time, he has shown that he can at least fight for 15 minutes at a really high pace, and Chikadze slows down.
Yeah. So we're going to skip a little bit. This is not the co-main event, but surprise is not. Kevin Lee taking on Daniel Rodriguez. And hey, can we give these guys a little round of applause for taking this fight? I mean, Kevin Lee was supposed to fight Sean Brady. Daniel Rodriguez steps up on short notice. Obviously, Daniel Rodriguez is not the biggest name. I mean, neither was Sean Brady, but props to these guys for coming together and taking this fight. Here's the thing, man. In 2021, it is really, really hard to predict the Kevin Lee fight, right? We've seen Kevin Lee look like he's going to be the next champion of the UFC. And, dude, we've seen Kevin Lee look like he still has a lot of holes in his game. I really like what Daniel Rodriguez has done in his UFC career. I think his boxing is super sharp. He's got a lot of power. And honestly, he's got nothing to lose against Kevin Lee here. Really like the matchmaking. Dude, I'm actually favoring the underdog here. I'm favoring Daniel Rodriguez. I think he's going to be able to go out there. I think he's going to be able to keep it on the feet enough. I think Kevin Lee would be really smart to try to take it to the mat and use his wrestling and his grappling. But I think Daniel Rodriguez is the naturally bigger fighter, and I think he's just going to be able to tag Kevin Lee up. I think he's going to be able to hurt Kevin Lee, and I think he actually takes the fight here.
I could be wrong, but is Danny Rodriguez also a BJJ black belt? Am I making that up? I know he's not like a wrestler, and he's not a grappler first, but I believe he might be a BJJ, like a 10th planet black belt even.
That's a good question.
But I don't think I didn't scout a whole ton of Daniel Rodriguez fights for this podcast, but from memory, I don't think he's out of his element on the ground. As long as he can keep Kevin Lee off of his back, he's always in the fight, I think. Kevin Lee, phenomenal back taker, phenomenal finisher from the back, but
very good.
It's hard, like you say, in 2021 to accurately predict a Kevin Lee fight. He seems all over the place. And he's almost to the point where he's maybe fallen in love with his striking a little bit too much. And on the ground, it is kind of like, oh, if he can't get to your back, like, how's he going to win? Anyway, Kevin Lee is a phenomenal back taker, but if he can't get to your back, if he can't consistently like get a takedown and threaten that back take, whatever, it's hard to see him winning. I know he knocked out Gregor Gillespie, like phenomenal stuff. It's hard for me to see that happening again or him replicating that. So I don't know, man. I think it's not out of left field to pick Daniel Rodriguez in this fight.
And he's Daniel Rodriguez is currently like a plus 130 dog. So if you're in the mood to bet and you want a dog, Daniel Rodriguez with some pretty good odds here.
Yeah.
So Ben, I don't know how much how much of The Ultimate Fighter did you watch?
I watched the first episode and that's it.
Yeah. I made it through the whole season. And I gotta say, dude, I actually enjoyed it. And this is why. I think for so long they just focused on the bullshit, right? Like they wanted the Junie Browning or the Chris Lieben getting drunk and pissing in the bed. And the thing about this season was there was not a lot of beef, right? The fighters seemed all pretty in unison. I mean, dude, they were like cooking dinner together and then fighting the next day. I thought it was a lot more focused on the fighters and their journey and their training. And I thought it was a lot better this season. Honestly, dude, the fights for the finals are really good. Brady Haystad and Ricky Tercios, the bantamweight final is going to be an awesome fight. Ricky Tercios, I would suggest going back and watching his 2 fights from the show. He had 2 just wars. His first fight with Dan Ortega was just an absolute blood and guts war. Brady Haystad, very young. I think he's like 22 or 23. Fought 2 of the most veteran fighters on the show in Vince Murdoch and Josh Reddinghouse. He won both of those fights. He's a grinder, great grappling. The middleweight final between Brian Battle and Gilbert Urbina should be awesome. Gilbert Urbina is a late replacement for Tresean Gore, who actually knocked him out. But I think we're actually getting a better final with Urbina stepping in for Tresean Gore. Brian Battle, the last pick of the middleweights for Team Volkanovski, has just shown a really well-rounded and just tough game. I think both of these fights are going to be really, really freaking good.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched any of it. Shout out to Gilbert Urbina from Weslaco, Texas, which is where, mentioned it earlier in the show, where I first met Mike Valley and where I started my martial arts journey. And his nickname, at least according to Tapology, is the RGV Bad Boy, which is ridiculous. RGV is the Rio Grande Valley, South Texas, but I don't think I ever met this guy even when I lived. I mean, yeah, his first pro fight was in 2014, and I moved out of the Valley in 2010 because I'm old.
Both of his brothers were on The Ultimate Fighter as well. Gilbert's actually the first guy that got a win on The Ultimate Fighter.
Is it like Hector? Is there a Hector Urbina?
Hector Urbina, and then I forgot what the other brother's name is, but yeah. Dude, honestly, both of these Ultimate Fighter fights are great. I gotta say, man, I really did enjoy The Ultimate Fighter this season. Again, like, it was fresh. They took a couple years off. I don't know how my interest is going to be for the next, when they get to Ultimate Fighter 39, but at least right now, I'm kind of back invested.
Here's my question. Maybe we can end the show with some reality TV talk. Is like, are they, like you said they like got away from the bullshit trying to force these like dramatic like pranks and whatnot. I'm into that, but I still need something different than just like every single episode is the same kind of format. Like, that's it. I like it when there's a storyline throughout the season, right? Maybe these guys don't get along. This guy's girlfriend is cheating on him at home or some shit. This guy's grandmother has cancer. I need something to carry me through episode to episode. Otherwise, all I'm going to do is like none of that. I was going to say, otherwise, all I'm going to do is if somebody says, "Oh, there was a really good fight on The Ultimate Fighter," I'm going to watch just that the next day. But
and you can do that.
Maybe I'm asking for too much with the good reality TV shows.
Yeah. See, the thing, I'm not like, I like reality TV, right? But like in the fighting sense, like I don't need the reality, like the bullshit, like, and that's why I feel like it got away from this season. I kind of liked it.
Dude, man, maybe next season I'll watch it and we could have somebody like another guest on just to talk to us about The Ultimate Fighter. Give it a thorough breakdown, the full chance it deserves.
There wasn't even a lot of heat in this season. And I gotta say, dude, I think Alexander Volkanovski shined this season. I think that, like, for me at least, the level of excitement I'm now getting from Alexander Volkanovski, because it gave a decent in-look into his career and like the way he coaches and handles fighters, and I really liked it. Whereas Brian Ortega, I thought he was kind of a dick. So like, I guess that like does a little bit for me going into their fight.
Yeah, I was gonna say the only thing that I have taken away from the clips or like the interviews, the what have you, from other than just the first episode, was that Volkanovski comes off as kind of a real guy, which I get. I've actually interviewed him, and Ortega comes off as a douchebag. Like,
yeah, that's pretty accurate.
I mean, I love even the clips of like Craig Jones trolling Brian Ortega. Like that shit's delightful to me. So I guess the Ultimate Fighter is good for that, for like letting you know where the personalities are, but also that doesn't particularly surprise me that Volkanovski is a good guy and Ortega's kind of a douchebag.
Here is a bit of info that I want to share with you and our listeners that I got from Gumby Breland. Have you seen the older gentleman that's in Brian Ortega's corner in the Ultimate Fighter? He seems like kind of a dick. Some people will know what I'm talking about. Kind of an asshole. Like it's
his
one
like
of his
longtime coach.
Yeah, it's this older guy that he's.
Yeah.
Did you know that guy is actually the guy from the old school UFC that got fucking hammered out with elbows by Gary Goodrich?
I should know his name off the top of my head. I'm a terrible MMA fan.
I don't even know his name, but when Daniel told me that, I was like, whoa, no shit.
Hold on. I feel like I should definitely know this guy's name as a... Let me see here. Let me look at... I feel like a terrible MMA fan.
I did too, but I still don't even know his fucking name.
Paul Herrera?
Paul Herrera, yes, that is the guy. He is Brian Ortega's coach this season of the Ultimate Fighter,
shit.
and he's kind of a douche. Yeah, he's the one that got destroyed by Gary Goodrich with all those fucking crazy elbows, man.
He has a 1-1 record in Tapology.
Yeah.
He did get one win. Holy shit.
Him.
UFC 8, David versus Goliath.
Yep, that is him, man. Shouts to Gumby Breed for teaching me that, and now I can share that information with you.
Dude. Fun facts today.
All right, let's end this episode with a little bit of brief talk about the fight happening this weekend. For whatever reason, it is probably the biggest fight of the weekend, bigger than Edson Barboza and Giga Chikadze, and that is Jake Paul taking on Tyron Woodley randomly Sunday night, which I'm kind of pissed about because I'm off this weekend, and there's no reason for this fight to be on a fucking Sunday, so now I got to watch it at work. But nonetheless, Jake Paul, a slight favorite over Tyron Woodley. Our episode with Jeremy Harridges, our boxing expert, should be out soon. We broke this down in detail about this, but really quick, who is your pick for the fight this weekend and why?
I mean, when we had Jeremy on, I picked Woodley. I'm going to flip-flop because because part of it too is like we had a boxing guy on. I can't not pick the MMA fighter when we have a boxing guy on. But Teddy Atlas picked Jake Paul here. I think I totally underestimated him against Ben Askren, be that as it may, whatever Ben Askren was doing going into that. Teddy Atlas, I read something basically just said like, you know, Tyron Woodley is shot at this point, and once you're shot, you're shot. And I'm afraid that might be true. So I guess I'm gonna go with Jake Paul.
We've not seen Tyron Woodley finish by strikes but 2 times in his MMA career. One was to Nate Marquardt all the way back in 2012, I want to say. And then against Vicente Luque, who's a fucking killer in his last fight. And he actually rocked Vicente Luque. Again, I said it on the boxing show. For me, I got to ride with Tyron Woodley. And that's the main reason why, is because I don't think Jake Paul is going to be able to take a big shot. And I don't think he's going to be able to react well. I think once Tyron hits him clean, I think if Tyron hurts him, I think it's going to go all downhill for Jake Paul. But, dude, if he goes out there and he beats Tyron Woodley, if he knocks Tyron Woodley out, I've already pretty much given Jake Paul his credit, but I don't want to say be on the bandwagon, but he deserves all the credit. Here's the thing. Jake Paul does the right things. He seems like he trains well. He trains properly. So you can give him that. But, fuck, man, go Tyron Woodley.
I hope so. Now I kind of want to flip-flop back. I mean, come
back on the good side, baby.
My initial instinct is like, this guy's a fucking world champion athlete.
I know. I can't get past it. And I still with Ben Askren. I can't get past it. He's a world champion athlete, and this dork is from fucking Disney Channel. I agree. He trains right. He's got the money to train with the best guys in the world, but dude, Tyron's been in there for a long, long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's actually taking the fight seriously, whereas Ben Askren fucking didn't even train for it.
I mean, you do bring up a thing of like, how could you trust Jake Paul's like chin and his like ability to deal with adversity here, right?
Yeah. Never seen it.
Because like, what if Woodley like just hammers his body with like a punch to the liver? Like, does that could crumble Jake Paul? Like that might be, if this is the first time he's in like a real fight and he feels that, maybe he crumbles. Maybe he doesn't.
Maybe he doesn't. Yeah, no. Again, the intrigue is there. I'm ready to see it. I still think the odds are crazy, dude. If you want to take a bet this weekend, dude, you're getting money on Tyron Woodley. Bet that. I swear, bet that. I really think that he is good at dog odds. But we'll see. And, you know, we talked about it with Jeremy, but even the undercard underneath it is pretty goddamn solid. So it is a good event. There's a lot of MMA and boxing going on this weekend with PFL, UFC, the boxing fight on Sunday night. So you get Friday, Saturday, Sunday. A lot going on, man.
Yeah, plenty of combat sports to go around.
I think we are done.
We're pumping out content too. I will say, I think our boxing episode will be up by the time this is up, and then shortly after we'll have some fun content out too.
Yeah. So other than that, please hit that subscribe button on YouTube. We got a lot of stuff coming out. Follow us we're on Spotify, iTunes, we're on SoundCloud. Hit us up wherever you listen to. We appreciate the support.
We'll talk to y'all soon. Face the pain.